In this presentation, I'm going to explore the impacts on Magor Marsh and possible ways in which we can mitigate them, specifically in the sense of the introduction of the Black Route to enable it to follow through with the scheme. The plans of the Black Route will see a 14-mile motorway built as a gateway into South Wales in a bid to tackle the congestion faced by motorists around Newport. This road will make it easier and safer for people to access homes and workplaces, as well as delivering a more efficient and sustainable transport network to support and encourage long-term prosperity within the region. This showing the plan of the Black Route. The proposed Black Route, as shown overlaying onto a Google Earth map of the surrounding area, shows that it intercepts a small part of the northwestern corner of Magor Marsh. Magor Marsh is part of the Gwent Levels, which are a landscape of extraordinarily diverse environmental and archaeological potential, predominantly being a wetland resource. It demonstrates reclamation of land from the former tidal mudflats and salt marshes. This started in the Roman period and continued through the 19th century. The lower-lying land further back from the coast, the back fens, are where it will be predominantly used and affected by the scheme. This landscape, as well as home to several SSSIs, is also a registered landscape of outstanding historic interest in Wales. Magor Marsh is a designated SSSI. This is an area of special interest due to their fauna, flora, geological and physiographical features. As it is one of the last fragments of fenland on the Gwent Levels, which has existed for over 1,000 years, it is important to make sure it is protected and maintained. Wetlands like this used to be a commonplace across Britain, but are now one of our most threatened habitats. The threat of losing this habitat in 1960 brought local naturalists together to fight for its survival, bringing together what is now known as the Gwent Wildlife Trust. Their efforts will help to work with the wildlife throughout this scheme. As well as it having an important broad habitat type, it is also home to several species, including the European otter, kingfisher, teal, hairy dragonfly, as well as the shrill carder bee. Maybe the most important species within this reserve is the water vole, which is the UK's most declining mammal. The reintroduction of this species back into Magor Marsh in 2012 and 2013 has brought hope into that they will spread across the levels using networks of interconnected ditches and reens. Magor Marsh is home to several types of important specific habitat types. These include reed beds, lowland fen, wet woodland, ponds, sedge fen, damp hay meadows, as well as hedgerows. All of these habitats home a variety of species as well as maintaining the biodiversity. Specifically, hedgerows play a wide part in encouraging biodiversity by excluding any barriers between habitats. These work in the same way as a network of reens, creating safe connections across the Gwent Levels. There are numerous impacts of this scheme. The first of these is pollution. This includes the pollution of surface watercourses, groundwater and soils, including from the result of fuel and chemical spills. These may then have a knock-on effect on the species within the habitats. Dust effects may arise during construction, as well as emissions from the site equipment, heavy goods vehicles and machinery. This also includes surface spray and airborne pollutants. Burrow pits will be used to provide general fill material used for constructing highway embankments. The temporary infrastructure of haul roads and offices will also take up more land than just the scheme. The spreading of invasive species may occur during vegetation and animal removal and replacement in other areas. Limitations of networks of reens and ditches will cause a problem for animal species having their normal routes cut off or changed. There is also the threat of this posing a danger to animal species in themselves. This can be in a variety of ways, from roadkill, habitat loss or change, and increase of competition with an increase of concentration of the number of species per habitat. Although there are a lot of impacts from the scheme, there is also several ways to mitigate these. Without proper mitigation, the scheme can have significant adverse impacts on many of the habitats and protected species along the route. Therefore, this is one of the most important factors in the planning of the scheme. In order to prevent pollution of the water within the reserve, there will be water treatments, which will be part of the drainage system of the road. This will aim to receive, store and attenuate highway runoff before it is discharged into the local watercourses, such as the Reens, and to ensure that the water flowing into the systems are of acceptable quality. As well as this, to prevent the pollution from oil spillages, the drainage system will contain oil interceptors to capture road runoff to prevent contamination of the surrounding environments. As stated before, pollution effects may also affect the air, whether this by dust or fumes. To ensure this is mitigated, the Institute of Air Quality Management guidance will be followed. To mitigate the effects of airborne pollutants, vegetation will be planted within close proximity that can utilise and are tolerant to such environments to act as a barrier to the rest of the habitat. To overcome the problem of temporary placements of haul roads, offices, etc., a pre-construction environmental management plan will be created to ensure the rejuvenation of these areas after the works have been done. This will include reen and ditch replacement as well as habitat replanting where it is viable. Major reens across the line of the new section will be conveyed into culverts under the road. Although it is predicted that 2,570 metres of reens and 9,140 metres of ditch would need to be filled across the whole scheme, they will be replaced in a way designed to maintain the hydrological connectivity across the reens and ditches. It is desirable that we will not have to fill anywhere near this mass and can maintain retention of the reens via culverts through the scheme. To ensure the protection of the movement of larger mammals, underpasses and oversized culverts will be introduced throughout, so their movement isn't limited, as well as renewed fencing and security measures to reduce the risks of roadkill. To prevent the spread of invasive species, more research and guidance from consultees will take part to ensure that species of animals and plants are moved correctly and in a more desirable time. For example, clearance of vegetation outside nest and bird breeding seasons. As well as this, licences will be maintained for the movement of protected species. This will be done via Natural Resources Wales. This is to ensure the species are removed to a suitable habitat, whether it be a newly created or enhanced one, within the close vicinity of the surrounding area. These areas could be those from where the burrow pits have collected materials to be able to rejuvenate them. After mitigation factors are introduced, the only significant effects would be on the sensitive waters of the Gwent levels, where potentially significant effect is predicted during construction. But with the mitigation factors, these will be minimalised. Throughout this procedure, we will refer to and use several consultees, such as the Gwent Wildlife Trust and local city councils. The next steps within the mitigation of the effects of this scheme will be a collection of management plans to cover all the stated factors, as well as going into Magor Marsh to carry out habitat and species surveys. Throughout this scheme, numerous legislation and guidelines will be followed to ensure, in the sense of safety and management, this benefits/mitigates negative impacts towards people, as well as most importantly the surrounding important wildlife habitats and species.